Joining me now live in our Lagos studio to discuss this development and much more, I have with me the Chief Executive Officer of Aglow Aviation, Ojuri. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
Good morning, it's a pleasure.
Let's first of all have a clarification with regards to this 22 billion naira sum, which is expected for the aviation sector's recovery. It's been quite a hit we've seen so far, and then the disbursement of the 5 billion naira that we've seen so far. In your last discussion with me, you said this was just a drop of water in a mighty ocean. Let's juxtapose the two figures now.
Yes, with COVID, governments at the onset, and it's a global phenomenon where we saw the need to actually fast track the economy, and aviation is seen as an economic catalyst. So to actually ensure that, the Nigerian government allocated 27 billion towards aviation sector, 5 billion of which was allocated, disbursed actually, to the airlines, to scheduled airlines, unscheduled airlines, ancillary services like the in-flight catering services, the fuel suppliers, and the jet suppliers, and others, actually the travel agencies as well. So it's been disbursed as we speak today. Now there's a balance of 22 billion. That 22 billion is actually not for the airlines, but for the institutions and the departments within the aviation sector, i.e. Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, as well as Nigerian Airspace Management Authority. Why so? With the post-COVID era, we need to develop the infrastructure. We need to actually ensure that we have great navigational instruments to actually ensure seamless, efficient airport and airline operations. We need to ensure safe and secured environment. All this costs money. Post-COVID, we need to ensure that new artificial intelligence-driven equipment or systems are put in place. All this will cost money, and that was why that money was budgeted to fast-track the aviation sector.
So what do you think is fueling now this feeling of, what's the right word to use at this point in time? Is it an anxiety or cautious optimism with regards to these funds? Because some are saying, well, this is not the first time we are having funds being earmarked and all of that. But what do you make of the ratio? We have 5 billion naira for airlines already disbursed. We have about 22 billion naira for agencies. How do we juxtapose the two? The ratio we have between the two, is it a balanced ratio in your own regard?
It's a balance, in my opinion, but it's never enough. There's never, man's needs are insatiable. We learn that in economics, and that's a reality of life, as it were. But the service providers are actually the platform on which all the airlines and all the service providers within the aviation sector play. For example, let's narrow this down. For example, with the airport sector. The airport sector, wherever you are as an airline, as a jet operator, jet fuel operator, as an in-flight catering service, needs to operate out of the airport. So you need to ensure that the equipment, the security, the operations, the facilitation process is available and is top-notch within the airport sector. Is it available as it were today? No, it's not. Is it being addressed? Yes, it is. So that's where that lump sum is actually being assigned. There's an issue of being assigned, which you've mentioned, and there's the issue of implementation. Like they always say, we've heard it several times, the devil is in the details. Is it being able to actually ensure that the disbursement is done, transparency is enforced, and ensure that this is done in line with best international practice and in line with ICAO standards, NCA regulations, so that we actually will be able to push and drive aviation as an economic catalyst, which it should be within Nigeria's economic sector.
And talking about stimulus and catalysts that we need for the aviation industry at this point in time, one of the biggest concerns that we've also seen airlines and managers within that area also cry out is the fact that we are having quite an unfavorable foreign exchange regime in the country. There is some perceived scarcity, the reality on ground, and the CBN is doing its own bit to ensure that liquidity injection comes through and all of that. But you have to acquire, you have to maintain aircraft, you have to pay for services and a whole lot more. That is closely hinged to foreign exchange access. And if we are having situations of inaccessibility, that's almost stifling the industry.
It's not, you're very kind, David, but the challenge is, the reality on ground is airlines are grappling with the availability, you don't say, of foreign exchange. Like you rightly mentioned, we need 80% of our operations from import of jet fuel to of training to the spares and maintenance. So, and even the training for the pilots and in-flight crew. So this needs to be done. To ensure this is done, CBN has actually allocated a preferential rate for us, but we're not for aviation sector, but we're not being funded adequately because there is no the scarcity of forex. So what is the solution? It's not just mentioning what the challenges are. What is the solution? Is to ensure that we're actually giving some preferential, aviation sector is giving some preferential treatment of some preferential disbursement, so that this equipment can, and the maintenance process can be addressed in ample time, so that we ensure that a seamless operation, when that addresses the cost of operations for the domestic airlines. When the cost is low, there's a domino effect whereby you actually ensure people and the population will fly. When there's the increase in flight, there's going to be the direct, indirect, and catalytic impact on the economy as well.
And like we always say, it goes beyond just addressing the problem by throwing money at the situation. So now let's also talk about the recovery that we expect with the bailout fund that we've already had disbursed to airlines. The airlines are still grappling with a whole lot of issues: on-time billing, cost of jet A1 fuel, and a whole lot more. Then foreign exchange scarcity too also hits a bigger blow. What sort of interface do you now expect, or the next big intervention from the federal government to assist airlines? Because we see in abroad now we've had consistent, it's been intentional support we've seen from governments in Europe and then America just to support the aviation sector. What do you think we should also be doing in terms of replicating such models in Nigeria?
I hear what you're saying, David, and I see the opportunities. However, let's bring this home. The reality that we face in Nigeria, we don't have that availability of funds. Yes, we've seen the payroll support system package in the US. We've seen disbursement in Europe as well. But what I see, or what we've actually been researched in the last few months post-COVID, is we cannot continue to wait on government for support and disbursement. Because in Nigeria, let's bring the peculiarities. We have the front-line issues of security. We have the front-line issues of infrastructure and education and healthcare.
And the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccine rollout, and all of that.
Exactly. But there's a solution to this. The solution that we researched and we found out is the solution that we suggested is we see that there are policies that can be tweeted appropriately. With the policies well aligned, we ensure that the airlines are well structured for foreign investments and partnerships, and with the foreign investments, you're able to grow the domestic airlines partnerships, to grow them to be
much
formidable.
More aggressively.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time at the breakfast show this morning. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. We keep our fingers crossed and hope that we see stronger vaccine deployment and we see the aviation sector bounce back strongly.
Certainly.